Hello, good morning friends. Welcome to my channel Visionary Vibes. So keep learning, keep growing. So today we are going to study the types of reaction. In my first lecture of this lesson, chemical reaction and equation, we had done with what is chemical reaction first of all. Okay. Then I'd explained you how to balance the chemical reaction. Okay, then we had started with the types of chemical reaction. Okay, in that we had done the two types of reaction. The first one was combination reaction and the second was decomposition reaction. Now we'll move towards the third type of reaction, that is displacement reaction. Okay, so already we had started with types of reaction. In that, first combination reaction we had done. Okay, second decomposition reaction we had done. Now third we are going to start with displacement reaction. Now student, what is displacement reaction? What do you understand by displacement reaction? So in this reaction, the more reactive metal, in this reaction, the more reactive metal displaces the less reactive metal in the metal solution. I repeat my words. The more reactive metal reacts with less reactive metal in its metal solution. Example we'll see. Example we'll see iron plus copper sulfate gives what? Gives us ferrous sulfate plus copper. Now iron, it's more reactive metal than copper. Okay, iron is more reactive than copper. So iron displaces the copper in copper sulfate solution, and what reaction takes place? Iron sulfate, we call it as ferrous sulfate plus copper. Okay, so this we are going to take directly metal. This is aqueous solution of copper sulfate. Okay, again this becomes aqueous and this becomes metal. Okay, second example of this. Now if we take again zinc metal plus copper sulfate solution. Now again here zinc is more reactive than copper in copper sulfate solution. Zinc is more reactive. Again the reaction will be what? It will be zinc sulfate plus copper. Okay, zinc sulfate plus copper. Hope so you understood the reaction. Now moving towards the further reaction. Okay, next type of reaction is what? Displacement reaction. Next type of reaction is displacement reaction, that is double displacement reaction. So next type of reaction is what? It is double displacement reaction. Which is the next type of reaction? It is double displacement reaction. Now what happens in double displacement reaction? Now here the ion exchange takes place. Double displacement reaction. In this type of reaction, the exchange of the ions in its solution, that takes place. Example, if I take FeSO4 plus ZnCl2. What we have taken? FeSO4 and zinc chloride, ferrous sulfate and zinc chloride. So in this reaction, what products we are going to get? Now this Fe, it will react with, it will go with chlorine. So what product we are going to get? FeCl2. Okay, and ZnSO4. Okay, so here what happened? What happened in this reaction? Only the exchange of the ions took place. Okay, here if you see in this reaction, FeSO4 ZnCl2, so FeCl2, it is ferrous chloride and zinc sulfate. So understanding this reaction is very simple. Okay, you know a compound, it is made up of what? A positive ion and negative. Okay, plus Zn2 plus and 2Cl minus. Okay, so here what happens? The exchange of the ions takes place. Now this positive, it will go with this negative. Okay, and this positive will go with this negative. So you can see FeCl2 and ZnSO4. Hope so you clear this equation. Now we'll just see the other reaction of double displacement reaction. Okay, now we'll just see the other reaction of double displacement reaction. Now here in this reaction you have to keep in mind, okay, that whatever the two reactants are there, their negative radical should not be same. Are you understanding? Whatever the reactants you have taken over here, the negative radical in that reactant, it should not be same. Now we will just move towards the next type of displacement reaction, double displacement reaction. So next example I will take about we'll take copper sulfate plus copper sulfate, but plus you can take ferric chloride. Now if you see in this, copper will go with chlorine, copper, it will go with chlorine, means this copper will react with this chlorine over here. So what we are going to get? We will get CuCl2, that is copper chloride, plus FeSO4, plus FeSO4. Hope so you understood the double displacement reaction. So in types of reaction, what we had seen, combination reaction. What happens in combination reaction? Only the reactants combine to give a product. For example, magnesium plus oxygen gives magnesium oxide. Okay, decomposition, if we take C6H12O6, okay, it decomposes. Okay, so this decomposes to give what? This decomposes to give carbon plus water plus carbon dioxide. Hope so you understood this reaction. Now next what we had seen? We had seen the double displacement reaction. Displacement reaction. So in displacement reaction, what we had seen? Ion, the more reactive, displaces the less reactive in its metal solution. Okay, in double displacement reaction, what we had seen? Only the exchange of the ions takes place in these types of reaction. Okay, now moving towards the next type of reaction, that is called as redox reaction, or we can say oxidation reduction reaction. Okay, so moving towards the next reaction, that is oxidation reduction reaction, or we can simply say redox reaction. Now what is redox reaction or what is oxidation? Now first we will see what is oxidation. What is oxidation? Okay, now I'll just tell you the definition of oxidation. Oxidation means what? First definition is what? Addition of oxygen. Okay, addition of oxygen. Second definition we can say about oxidation is what? Removal of hydrogen. Removal of hydrogen. Okay, and third definition of oxidation is what? Loss of electron. This is first one, this is second one, and third is what? Loss of electron. Okay, so these are the three definitions of the oxidation reaction. Now we will see reduction. Okay, so what is reduction? What is reduction? First definition of reduction is what? Now here addition of oxygen, so we'll write addition of hydrogen. Addition of hydrogen. Okay, second is what? Removal of here hydrogen over here, so here Removal of oxygen. Removal of oxygen. Okay. Third, loss of electron. So here it is what? Gain of electron. Understood the definitions? So there are three definitions of oxidation and reduction reaction. So what is oxidation? Addition of oxygen. Very simplest reaction. Very simplest definition. Addition of oxygen is what? Oxidation. Okay. Second, removal of hydrogen. And third, loss of electron. If we see the reduction, addition of hydrogen, removal of oxygen, and gain of electron. Now we will see the examples which are related to this type of reaction. Now, what is redox reaction? When oxidation and reduction takes place simultaneously, that reaction is called as what? That reaction is called as redox reaction. When oxidation and reduction takes place simultaneously, एक ही साथ oxidation reduction हो रहा है, तो उसे बोलते हैं redox reaction. Now we'll just see the examples related to the oxidation and reduction. Okay. Now first, oxidation. If I write carbon plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide. So here what happens? In this case what happens? Addition of oxygen had took place. Addition of oxygen had took place. So this type of reaction is what? This type of reaction is what? It is an oxidation reaction. Second example we'll see. Magnesium plus oxygen. Magnesium plus oxygen, it gives magnesium oxide. So again it is what? It is a type of a redox reaction. Okay. Now we will see the next type of reaction. One more thing. Okay. I had given you two examples of oxidation. Second. Okay. What is the second? Addition of oxygen, removal of hydrogen. Okay. Now if I take magnesium hydride, okay, when I heat it, what will happen? It will give me magnesium plus hydrogen. It will give me what? Magnesium plus hydrogen. Okay. So which is this type of reaction? See, second definition which I told you, removal of hydrogen. So here is hydrogen removing out? Yes, it is coming out. So this type of reaction is also what? It is an oxidation reaction. Okay. Now did you understand this reaction? Okay. Now we'll just move towards the next type of reaction, that is the reduction reaction. Now what happens in reduction reaction? Okay. What happens in reduction reaction? What happens in reduction reaction? What are the definitions of reduction? First is what? Removal of oxygen. Okay. Second, what? Addition of hydrogen. Addition of hydrogen takes place, removal of oxygen takes place. Okay. And third one is what? Gain of electrons. So we are going to see the example. If I take an alcohol, if I take ethanol, okay, if I take ethanol, okay, on oxidation of ethanol, okay, when I treat ethanol with potassium permanganate, okay, so what happens here? Ethanol water molecule is given out from the ethanol. Okay, I'll just write the reaction. CH2 CH3 CH2OH on. What we get here? CH3 CH2 plus H2O. Now here in presence of KMNO4, as an KMNO4, or again we can also take here potassium dichromate also over here. Okay, so what we are getting? We are getting what? We are getting what? Acid. Okay, so here what happens on oxidation? Addition of oxygen take place. Okay, so reduction, one example I'll give you about reduction. Okay, so when ethyl alcohol, okay, when ethyl alcohol is treated, so we had seen that addition of oxygen. Okay, so in ethanol, when we oxidize ethanol, what we get? We get ethanoic acid. We get ethanoic acid plus ethanoic acid. Okay, that is also called as what? It is also called as acetic acid. Okay, now moving towards the reduction reaction. Now in reduction, what I told you, removal of oxygen, addition of hydrogen and gain of electrons. Now here we are going to take example copper oxide plus hydrogen. Now here what you see, you can see hydrogen is added over here. Okay, so what we get? We get copper plus water. So here what happens? Oxygen is removed. Oxygen is removed. Here oxygen is removed. Okay, so this is what? This is reduction reaction. Okay, now when oxidation and reduction takes place simultaneously, it is called as redox reaction. Now in this, if we see again this example only, here what happens? Here what happens? Copper oxide loses oxygen. When it loses oxygen, what is it? Loss of oxygen. It is what? It is reduction. Okay, it is reduction. Okay, now if you see hydrogen, okay, copper oxide loses oxygen, so it is what? It is reduction. Okay, and hydrogen, it is getting oxygen, so here it will be what? It will be oxidation over here. So when this takes place simultaneously, at that time it is called as what? Redox reaction. Okay, hope so you had understood today's lecture. Okay, so today we had did all the types of reactions, all the 5 types of reaction: combination, decomposition, displacement, double displacement and oxidation reduction or redox reaction. Okay, so in the next lecture we'll see what is catalyst, what is rancidity, what is corrosion. We will just see in the next lecture. So students, keep learning, keep growing, and if you understood this lecture, please like and subscribe my channel Visionary Vibes. Thank you.